There's the VAR Room on Westman Studios. And today we will review the weekend games that were played. And I have Cephas, Richie, and Nabila to do this with me. What's up, guys?
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
so when you say Easter Monday,
Yeah.
holiday, I'm quite jumanity.
But how was your weekend?
The weekend has been good actually. I mean, I'm a church boy, so
okay.
I've been at church. Okay. I mean, doing stuff for God and those things. If you are a picnic, Richie is also a coach.
Richie, did you go to church yesterday?
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh,
okay.
Okay.
Man, church. Phones will be calling.
Phones are calling. Not at all.
Cephas, did you go to church yesterday?
Actually did for the first time in a long time. I been Jesus Christ wake up.
Oh, okay.
Go welcome.
Wear white, then go church.
Oh, nice.
But
I would say no go end for there, no.
I
You go try. No. You forgo.
Let me go straight into action. So in the La Liga this weekend, Barcelona did a brilliant comeback against Celta Vigo. They won 4-3, and there was a bit of controversy on the final goal that Rafinha scored through a penalty. The game was very tough. In our preview game, we said Celta Vigo is a very stubborn club.
Tough customers.
Very stubborn club. When they meet the likes of Real Madrid, Barcelona, they mostly worry them a lot. And they did that against Barcelona. Cephas, just talk to me about how the game went.
So just as you put it, Celta Vigo are usually tough customers for the big size in Spain. But then again, they've been touted as one of the entertainers in the league because, you see, in as much as they have what it takes to match the big guys boot for boot, in most cases, the big guys will actually edge the game out. And what happened over the weekend was no exception. Look, you ask yourself that how can you take a 3-1 advantage? And it was a brilliant performance from Celta Vigo, not taking anything away from them.
Yeah.
But then you get your third goal. 2 minutes after, then you allow your opponent back into the game. Then from there on, they seem to have lost, their composure and everything. And then Barca started coming into the game again. Look, in as much as we want to credit Barca for the comeback, I want to look at the negatives. A lot of plaudits have been given to this Barca team this season, especially with how they seem to run riots, put teams to bed, score 3, 4, 5 goals and all that. If you want to continue this lane, okay, we are at the business end of the season. How many times will teams allow you to do the comeback?
Yes, that's true.
And once you take, you allow yourself to concede as many goals, most teams will now sit back and close all gaps. But you look at Celta Vigo, they were still open. They still allowed the game to be opened. And that was what made Barca come back into the game. Even before Barca considered the 3, look at the high line.
Yeah, it was
outrageous.
Yeah.
And that is one thing that Hansi Flick has been, people have prompted him, but he seems to be stubborn. He still wants to do the high line.
But you die by it.
Don't do that.
Maybe he just feels like it's working for him. No. So he just needs to do that to just win the game.
You may escape in the Spanish league, but in the Champions League, you find things difficult.
Yeah, but unfortunately for Barcelona, they were happy and sad on Saturday. Lewandowski got injured, and as I'm told, he will miss the Madrid game.
Yeah.
And likely he will also miss both the first leg and the second leg of the semi-finals against Inter in the UCL.
Absolutely.
It's not good news for Barcelona.
It's a big blow, but for some way, somehow, Ferran Torres has found his rhythm all of a sudden at Barcelona, and he seems to have been able to fit in anytime he's been called upon. I don't think Lewandowski will be hugely missed because I think this Barca team has a lot of quality up front. My question with this Barca team is how to shut up shop when need be. That I'm still yet to see this season.
Yeah. So is it so obvious or very close that they will win the La Liga?
They have it in their hands.
Yeah.
I don't think Barca should lose it from here. They just have to continue doing what they are doing. But I expect Hansi Flick to be sometimes pragmatic and manage the games when need be. Okay. I don't expect him to go all out every minute from minute 1 to minute 90.
Okay.
No.
Okay, thank you. So Nabila, over the weekend, Real Madrid won against Athletic Club at the Santiago Bernabeu, and it was a tough one. Real Madrid used their star players, and Mbappe was suspended for that game.
Yeah.
Athletic Bilbao or Athletic Club didn't use their star play. They rested most of their players, which even Inaki Williams came from the bench to come and play some few minutes. But they had it very tough. They had to take some like belter from Federico Valverde.
Yeah.
So it was so nice. It was in the 92nd minute of the game. So just talk to me about Real Madrid.
I think clearly Madrid are playing, and you get to see that there's a team that is lacking a lot of confidence and a lot of self-belief, because even a Madrid that is playing against the Bilbao side, that you said, have rested several first teamers because they have one eye on the Europa League. Yeah. And then you struggle and you have to take like a 90 plus minute screamer from Valverde to get you a goal. It tells you the team is kind of lacking confidence. Yeah. But again, kudos to them. Like I've mentioned earlier on, I've told you that we have gotten to the point of the season in the football league or wherever, where the result matters more than how you play. If you're a big team at this particular point in the season, it's not about how well you are playing. Yeah. I think, and I like the point Cephas makes about even Barca. I think that Barca are so much more interested in us winning and winning beautifully than winning ugly.
Yeah.
Do you understand? So I think Madrid won ugly. Kudos to them. They are still at pace with Barca, 4 points. The big game is coming, Clásico, and it was important for them to win this game because if they had dropped points, it was more or less like they've lost the league. But if you win, and no matter how you do it, still 4 points. Yeah. If you go into the Clásico, you have Mbappe coming back, you do well, you close the gap to 1 point, and then you count your stats and see maybe just Barca may drop points along the line, and then you overtake them as you win your games.
Because if you check the La Liga fixtures left, when you check Barcelona's fixtures, Barcelona have tough fixtures than
Real Madrid. Exactly.
Because Barcelona will play Villarreal, they'll play Espanyol. They have very tough fixtures.
Yeah. Perfect. So that's the point I'm making, that it was very important for Madrid to get the win, no matter how they did it.
Okay.
For them to have that momentum going for them, and then to keep up with Barca, so that when you go into the Clásico, we know how we talk about Clásico, it doesn't follow form guide and all that. Go in there, maybe you do a professional job, get your 2-1 win or 1-0 win, take it to the Bernabeu, and then hope that Barca slip up, and then you overtake them and you win the La Liga.
Okay, so let's go straight to the Bundesliga. And Harry Kane helped Bayern Munich win 4-0 on Saturday. Richie, Harry Kane is clinching closer to winning his first ever major title.
It's coming home for him.
Yeah. It's coming home finally. Yeah. This has been a game I usually call a goal galore.
Yeah.
Because their least goals in a game is 4.
Yeah.
And which is yesterday, it has always been 4-2, 3-2, 4-0, and so on. This game, it's always a right thing for investors. It's like an easy selection for
senior
investors.
Investor.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, it's always goes. Hedem has always been a land for Bayern to farm whenever they meet. I mean, they've won only one in their five meetings, playing one draw and then losing 3 to Bayern. Bayern, I mean, it was a walkover. They won this game just to get closer to their league title. That's the only trophy. I think that's the trophy they need this season, just to prepare themselves to the next season.
Okay.
It's just a simple win. Okay. A game no one would choose Hedem to win over Bayern. Just a cool chop one.
Okay, that's great. So let's go to the Serie A. And this season, we are having like a title race.
That's the proper title.
A title race.
That's where
Napoli and Inter Milan. Napoli won over the weekend against Monza by 1-0. Scott McTominay.
Yeah, absolutely.
Scott McTominay. And Inter lost against Bologna. In our preview on Friday, we were like, Inter has a very tough game to play.
Exactly.
And unfortunately for them, they lost. But I just want to educate our viewers on the rules on winning the Serie A.
Yeah.
These are very specific rules that our viewers needs to know. So with the Serie A, this rule was made in the 2022-2023 season.
Yeah.
If the first two teams in the Italian Serie A have the same number of points at the end of the season, the title race will be decided in a playoff.
Yeah.
So it is just in the Italian Serie A that you have this kind of rule.
Yeah.
It has happened before. That was in the 1963-1964 season when Bologna and Inter had the same points, and Bologna beat Inter at the Stadio Olimpico in Rome by 2-0 for Bologna to win the Scudetto. So it's likely this season we are going to see the same thing. So in the Italian Serie A, we don't use goal difference, we don't use head-to-head.
Yeah.
When you get the same number of points straight, they just get a neutral ground for you and you play that game.
Yeah.
So it's very likely we will see that in this season. Nabila just talked to me about how the title race is going. Like, it's so nice.
I mean, that's quite a crazy one in the Italian Serie A. That, like, there's a proper title race there in that league. For quite a long time, it looks like this is one of the most exciting times that I mean, the league is going straight down to the wire to be determined, likely even by a playoff game. But the point about the Serie A is that people, you see, not even the Serie A, like when people talk about a team doing well in the Champions League, it has its blessings and it has its curses.
Yeah.
I'm making these points based on the Inter game, because you see, Inter had played an energy-sapping game against Bayern Munich.
That's true.
They had to defend for their lives, and then they now have a Serie A title race ahead of them. So, and of course, you mentioned about the fact that we had spoken about how tough a customer Bologna is and how tough an opponents they are in the Serie A, especially when they are playing against the big boys.
Yeah.
They have drawn earlier against Napoli a few weeks back. And I made that point strongly that if Inter are not careful, they're going to drop points. And last minute goal, Bologna got it, and then Inter lost it. I think that the loss for Inter is down to their engagements in the Champions League. And I think that is where the title will be determined. Because Napoli are not playing any they don't have any European commitment. They have the freshness of, I mean, playing once a week.
Yeah.
And Antonio Conte has proven that as a manager, whenever he has that luxury, he usually does well. Mind you, when he went to Juventus, whenever he played the Champions League, it didn't go so well. Whenever he got out of the Champions League, he breezed through the league. At Chelsea, from 10th, he was playing 1 week a game. He was able to galvanize Chelsea to win the Serie A title. To win the EPL when he was there in 2017. So for me, yes, it's very likely that Inter may just put themselves together and then take it straight down to the wire. But if you are letting me predict someone to win the league, I think because of intense UCL commitment and them in that semi-final, I think Napoli will just get the league.
So, Richie, who do you think will win the Serie A this season?
I think Napoli, because looking at Inter Milan's fixtures, it's a very, very tough one. Inter Milan is supposed to play AC Milan, Roma, Verona, and then Torino, Lazio, and Como, the stubborn Como.
Yeah.
And this game, Como, on the last day, Como is playing home, which is a very difficult ground this season for most of the teams.
Most of the teams.
Yeah, Fabregas is really doing well with the team.
Yeah.
And then looking at Napoli's
And even
features,
with about Cesc Fabregas, I was this weekend. There was news
Rumors
running
of,
about he going to RB Leipzig.
Leipzig,
They've
yeah, that's
started
true.
talks with him, and it's likely he will be the head coach of RB Leipzig next season.
so back to Napoli's fixtures, they are playing Torino, Lecce, Genoa, Parma, and then Cagliari.
Okay.
It's absolutely, they can even go on beating with this.
Yeah.
With this
And looking
many
at how
fixtures.
they are not playing European football.
Yeah.
And Napoli has the Coppa Italia, the European football, and also the Serie A. So you could see it's a lot of stress for Napoli.
for
Inter
Inter
Milan.
Milan.
For Inter Milan, sorry.
Yeah.
So for Inter Napoli, Cephas, who do you think is winning the league?
You see, if you want to put both teams on paper, Inter Milan, in terms of experience at this level, I'll take Inter Milan over Napoli,
That's
irrespective of the competitions they find themselves in. Now, in terms of squad depth in the Serie A this season, I still think Inter Milan has a lot of quality in them, even as compared to Napoli.
Okay.
My problem with Napoli is they are not scoring so many.
Yeah.
Yes, they are very resolute at the back. Antonio Conte only needs 1 goal, then he will shut up shop. Now, if there's this saying that a 1-goal lead in football games are always very tricky.
Yeah.
Because once the game was on or carries on, you give your opponent a lot of confidence as the game draws to its end. And anything can pop up. It can be from a set piece, it can be from a corner kick, anything, deflection, then that goal is cancelled. So I am expecting by the fact that Napoli has relatively easier fixtures, I expect Napoli to go all out. And, once they get the first goal, consolidate it, put the game to bed as early as possible. If Napoli will continue to toe this line, I fear slightly for them because honestly, I think Inter Milan, irrespective of where they find themselves, the fact that they still have some cup games, they have AC Milan to
Yes,
play.
in the Coppa Italia.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And don't forget, Bologna, by virtue of that 3-0 win over Empoli in the first leg of the Coppa Italia, they have one foot
in the final.
potentially in the final.
Yeah.
So there is also that potential meeting with Bologna
again
in the
in the
Coppa
Coppa
Italia
Italia
final.
final. Yeah.
You get it.
Yeah.
But Inter Milan have been here so many times.
Okay.
Look, it's not new to them. If you ask me to stick my neck out, I'll still tilt slightly in favor of Inter Milan.
Okay, so let's go straight to arguably the greatest league. I don't want to do this with Napoli again. So let's go straight to the EPL. And this weekend, last weekend, we had some interesting games.
Yeah.
Chelsea coming from a 1-goal down to win 2-1 against Fulham. Liverpool clinching closer to the title. When they win against Spurs next week, their EPL titles, they will win their 20th EPL title. United played at home and lost by 1-0. Hey, Onana. Amorim. Oh yeah, dang. Amorim. like you don't know.
No. We have a separate video coming for that. So.
Aston Villa also won against Newcastle. That game was so good.
Yeah.
Aston Villa won 4-1 against Newcastle. So let me come to you, Cephas. Fulham against Chelsea. It was a good one. Fulham started the game well.
Yeah.
Chelsea were just passing the ball around. They just didn't know what to do. But the introduction of Tariq George,
and then
Sancho also helped Chelsea just clinch the win. Like, just win. Just talk to me about that game.
I think when we were here for the preview, I actually tipped Fulham to edge it if the game to go the extra mile. And we saw that from how Fulham even approached the game.
Yeah.
They were the better side in the first half.
like
Absolutely brilliant from Marco Silva. And yes, they've been inconsistent. Look, Fulham have lost 25 points from winning positions this season in the Premier League.
Yeah.
The only team to have lost more is Ipswich Town
Ipswich.
with 27. So it tells you that there's something missing with the Fulham team, especially when they take the lead in football games. I expected them to, exactly, because they were brilliant.
Yeah.
First half solid. Even the second half, yes, Chelsea started
They started
on the front foot.
Yeah.
You could see clearly that Chelsea wanted to get something out of the game. But by and large, Fulham still had the game under control.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the goal that George scored.
Yeah.
Instinctive, really.
Yeah.
It was out of the blue. He swung his right foot at it. Brilliant. He was able to beat Ben Leno.
Yeah.
Even at that time, Fulham still had the game under control.
Yeah, that's true.
How they managed to capitulate and eventually lose all 3 points to Chelsea has been the narrative of their season so far. But we can't take anything away from Pedro Neto's brilliant winner.
Oh yeah. Oh, that was a good goal.
A
brilliant
pass
one.
from the wings, the right foot to cushion the ball, and then on the half turn, brilliant.
That was a good goal. That was a good goal.
I tell you, it was one goal for the ages. And if look, Chelsea have blown hot and cold. We've said that, but that winner, it's a goal you would want to watch every now and then. Brilliant.
Yeah,
brilliant
but you see, there was a mistake from Reece James too. Reece James,
the build up to the first
Yeah,
goal.
yeah.
Actually, he was dispossessed.
Yeah.
And Chelsea had a lot of changes going into this game. Maresca, I think, made about 6 changes compared to the starting lineup in midweek. And so we saw Reece James revert back to his right full back position instead of the one he played in midfield in midweek. We saw Noni Madueke and all that come into the fray.
Yeah.
Look, what is wrong with Cole Palmer?
Don't worry.
And
Don't
Nicolas
worry.
Jackson.
For that one, we'll get there. Don't worry. Don't worry about that one. We'll get there.
It's
We'll get
one
there.
thing that is worrying Chelsea.
We'll get
And
there. Don't worry.
Their form needs, it leaves a lot to be desired.
Yeah. So, Richie, at the Villa Park on Saturday, Aston Villa did the magic. They beat Newcastle by 4-1. And this is a Newcastle side. Before this game, they have scored 9 goals in their previous 2 games and considered just 1.
Yeah.
And they lost 4-1. Aston Villa played so well. If even Asensio didn't miss some few chances, I'm sure the game would have ended like 6-1.
Yeah.
Just talk to me about that game.
No one saw that coming.
Yeah.
Everyone tipped Newcastle to win this game.
For me, I tipped Aston Villa to win.
Yes, because you're on an agenda, so we understand. Likewise, but we never saw that huge cricket scoreline.
Yeah.
And I mean, Newcastle, I think they are still on the right path. They still have the chance to be in the top 4. Aston Villa is also fighting its way to the top 4. When you look at their points, 57 with Chelsea and then Nottingham. So they needed this win. They actually needed this win to be in the top 4 race. It's now top 5.
Yeah, top 5.
It's now top 5. So they needed that win and they got it. Like no one actually planned the way Villa approached the game. No one saw that coming. That was a good one from Unai Emery. And then kudos to what he's doing. He's actually turning Villa into a different team.
Okay, that's great. So let's go to the Goodison Park. Everton lost 2-0 against Man City, and it was a good performance from both sides. I enjoyed Everton a lot on Saturday, but they were just unlucky. City were just use their experience to just beat them.
Of course, I think last week I made a point about form will always be temporary, but class will always be permanent. And City was able to manage the game in a very class manner. Kudos to Pep Guardiola and how he was able to make certain changes to just bring some bit of dexterity in their play. I mentioned about the fact that it was going to be a very emotional game for Everton because this is their final, route out of Goodison Park. And then they gave City a very good game. It was a very, very tough game. It took up until about the 80th minute before City could score a goal, and then they got a second one. I predicted that if it was going to be a win, City was going to get it, but it was going to be tough, and that was how the game played. Everton clearly lacked a bit of quality up front. That is one of the major problems that they had, because they had a few chances that maybe the final pass was a quality pass, and then they were just in to have scored a goal. So I think City are just managing and using. When I was coming and I was in the car, I was listening to radio, and then one of the pundits was missing the point about usually City get to this point is about them winning the league. Yeah. But however, they are using that experience of winning the league to get into the UCL. And kudos for them. I think City will just get the UCL spot.
Okay.
They'll just get it.
Okay. So unfortunately for 4 Ghanaian players, they've made, I don't know, they've helped their club just go to championship.
No, I mean, they did their best, but their clubs are relegated.
So Kamaldeen Sulemana, Fatal Ishaku, Jordan. So 3 players, 3 Ghanaian players. So but I wanted to talk about, just quick one, about Kudus. West Ham are not playing so well under Graham Potter. And do you think it is time Kudus just needs to leave the club next season? I just want something, a quick
I think, let me take it first. It's a yes for me. And I think there are certain clubs that are looking for certain kind of profile that I think Kudus fits in. Chelsea, for instance, Arsenal, for instance. I think these 2 clubs, they should look at Kudus. Especially, he's a very, very good player, quality player, and the stocks are low.
Yeah.
Me a club na munko Kudus low na munche na high later.
No, but I think West Ham will still take the huge amount.
Oh no, but
looking at
the performance of
the form has dipped.
The form has dipped, so it can't increase.
I think we heard them demanding about 85 million
but
pounds.
I'm sure now
60 million pounds.
60, 50.
It's still huge.
Yeah.
It's still huge.
So do you think Kudus needs to leave?
Absolutely.
Yeah, because looking at
the season has been below par.
Yeah.
Looking at what we know and the quality he has, maybe the chopping and changing of coaches haven't helped him.
It's not helped him.
But his quality is unquestionable, really. And a lot of top coaches have shown interest. Even Ancelotti have.
He's spoken about.
I just feel like he will go to Liverpool. I just feel like Liverpool will suit him.
Liverpool ready to put a 60 million on the table.
Oh no, they'll do that. They'll do that. They'll buy players because looking at slots, they'll do that.
It's about his quality. It's about what he brings. He's explosive.
He's dynamic, versatile.
Gifted. He has eyes for goals. For me, I'll be very glad if he makes the big money move to a bigger club.
Okay. So viewers, just go on our YouTube channel, like, comment, and share to your friends, to your family, and also subscribe to our channel. And to our viewers, we have a special episode for Chelsea and Manchester United. We are specifically talking about Amorim and Enzo Maresca. You don't have to miss this episode. It's going to be a good one. So to our viewers, it's a wrap from us. Goodbye.